Hello, here we are at station number 2. Jesus takes up his cross. And in our image right here, we have a picture of Jesus and the cross that he has to carry. So this was actually a very common thing in Roman times for a crucifixion, is that people would literally carry their own crosses. A lot of times people think that it was just Jesus is the only person that did this. This would be something that many criminals would have had to do. And this was not an easy or a light cross. It was a heavy, challenging, burdensome cross.
So let's hear the passage that this comes from Matthew 27, and I'm going to start at verse 27, and let's hear this word. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him, and they twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head, and they put on him a scarlet robe. Then they put a staff in his right hand, and they knelt in front of him, and they mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. And they spat on him, and they took the staff, and they struck him on the head again and again. And after they had mocked him, they took off the robe and put on his own clothes. And then they led him away to crucify him. So in the passage, you can see the rod that they would have struck him with. We have a representative of it here. It would have been pretty mean, it probably had things attached to it to kind of
tear the flesh.
Yeah, get into his flesh. It's a form of torture. It would have been horrible. And they would have used reeds. We have representatives of reeds here too. And that just this constant beating. You can imagine just being beat down by people who just don't want you to be there. And then they created a crown of thorns. We have a representative of that here, big enough to put on his head, but also we have something here with actual thorns in it, again, biting into the skin. So this was not just let's take him away to jail kind of thing. This was a torturous process of arresting him and taking him then to make him carry his cross, as Rebecca said, and take him to his doom. Again, we often in the culture say, well, it's your cross to bear, or you just have to carry that cross. This is where that reference comes from, is Jesus carrying his cross on this last day of his life, knowing that he's taking it to his own execution. Again, we often have times in our lives where we feel like we are carrying a heavy burden that, again, might not be something that we actually deserve, or can even wrap our minds around it. We can't even tolerate the idea of why we would be in this situation. And sometimes it's things that we've caused ourselves, and other times it's things that have just happened to us.
Which I think for me, as a follower of Christ, it's really important at this moment to stop, and we've all had those moments when we have been in that situation, and to say that nobody understands what I'm going through or nobody understands what I have gone through, well, you're wrong, because Jesus does. Jesus fully felt every single amount of pain and anguish that he went through. During this part when Jesus walked on earth, he was fully human. So he felt every lash. He felt the shame and the humiliation of the people with their mean words and making fun of them. It's not like all of a sudden there was this protective bubble around Jesus and he didn't feel it or it didn't matter, because it did matter to Jesus. And what I love about it is that Jesus was able to walk this. And Jesus was able to get through this. And so when I say, I have a Savior that knows and feels exactly what I'm feeling, he does, because Jesus did this. And so Jesus is there for you in your times of trial and frustration, and when you have to carry your own cross. So when you feel that emotion, cry out to him, because he's there and he knows what you're walking through, because he walked through something pretty challenging himself.
And so the other thing it brings up for me is this great feeling of thankfulness that Jesus did this for us. And so today, right now, this is station 2.